a wall of black water, 300 feet high, slams into a city of golden towers. Bodies cartwheel through the foam, bronze bridges snap like dry branches. 1,000 years of civilization, gone in 90 seconds. You have been told this world was primitive. Mud huts, cavemen, grunting savages who deserved what they got. That is a lie. The world before the flood was not primitive. It was more advanced than you have been told. And God did not destroy it because he was angry. He destroyed it because corruption had become irreversible, written into the flesh itself. Genesis chapter 5 records 10 men who lived an average of 900 years, 9 centuries of accumulated knowledge, passed father to son, no written language needed. One man, Methuselah, lived 969 years. The longest human life ever recorded in Scripture. His death and the flood happened the same year. That is not a coincidence. That is a countdown. And by the end of this video, you will understand what they were counting down to. Over the next 40 minutes, I'm going to show you a civilization that makes Babylon look like a village using Genesis, 1st Enoch, and fragments from the Dead Sea Scrolls that most churches pretend do not exist. If this is your first time here, you are about to see Scripture the way it was meant to be read. Subscribe so you do not miss what comes next. You were taught the pre-flood world was a wasteland of cavemen. What if it was the most advanced civilization that ever existed? And that is exactly why it had to be destroyed. Now picture this. Genesis chapter 1 verse 7. God separates the waters above the firmament from the waters below, a water vapor canopy surrounding the entire earth. No direct ultraviolet radiation reaching the surface. Uniform subtropical climate from pole to pole. Atmospheric pressure higher than anything you have ever breathed. Imagine a world with no deserts, no ice caps, no storms. A greenhouse the size of a planet. Genesis 2, verses 5 and 6. It had not yet rained on the earth. Instead, a mist rose from the ground and watered the whole face of the land. No rain, no storms, no weather as you understand it, just moisture breathing up from the soil. Feeding vegetation so dense, so massive, it would dwarf anything alive today. Trees the height of skyscrapers, ferns the size of houses, rivers wider than the Amazon running clear as glass under a sky that never darkened. Now, the longevity. Adam lives 930 years. Genesis 5, verse 5. The text is precise about this. The Hebrew word for years, shana, means exactly what it says. Scholars who try to reduce these to months or seasons break the genealogical math entirely. Under that canopy, with no ultraviolet degradation, with genetic code still 9 generations from its original design, human cells replicated with almost zero error. You age because your DNA copies degrade. Their DNA was a handful of generations from perfection. Think about what 900 years of life means for knowledge. Adam is still alive when Lamech, Noah's father, is born. That is not a typo. Check the genealogy yourself. Adam could tell his great-great-great-great-great-grandson what Eden looked like, what the tree of life smelled like, what God's voice sounded like walking in the cool of the day. No library needed, no written language required. The library was breathing. The library had a heartbeat. This is not primitive. This is a civilization with living memory stretching back to creation itself. Fathers teaching sons who teach their sons for centuries, without a single generation of knowledge lost. And here is what no one tells you about that. Knowledge without death is power without consequence. And power without consequence is the most dangerous force in the universe. This was the world God called good. Waterfalls thundering into valleys so green they hurt your eyes. Rivers glittering under light that never cast a harsh shadow. Forests so vast a man could walk for months and never reach their edge. The air itself was alive. Thick, warm, carrying the scent of wet earth and 1,000 species of flower you will never see. A world designed to sustain life for centuries. But something was coming. Something that would make God himself grieve that he had made the earth at all. Those silhouettes on the mountain. Now you see them clearly. Mount Hermon, the highest peak in the region. 1 Enoch, chapter 6. 200 beings descend through the cloud layer. The Watchers. Irin in Aramaic. It means the awake ones. They are not demons. They are not metaphors. The text of 1 Enoch names them Semjaza, Azazel, Barakiel, Kokabil. These are not fairy tale names. These are names preserved in manuscripts found in the caves of Qumran, the Dead Sea Scrolls, carbon dated to the 2nd century before Christ. What if the technological explosion of the ancient world was not evolution, but a download? And what if the source was not human? Semjaza is their leader. He stands at the summit, wind screaming around him, and he hesitates. The text records his fear. And his fear is not of God. It is of being abandoned. He turns to the others and speaks. I fear that you will not follow through, and I alone will bear the punishment for this great sin. That is 1 Enoch, chapter 6, verse 3. The leader of the rebellion is terrified, not of falling, but of falling alone. The others answer him. 200 voices in unison on a frozen summit. Let us all swear an oath and bind one another by mutual curses. They swear. On the peak of Hermon, and the name Hermon. Listen to this. Comes from the Hebrew cherim. It means devoted to destruction. Cursed. The mountain where they swore their oath literally means the cursed place. The geography remembers what happened. Mount Hermon still exists. You can find it on Google Maps right now. On the border of Syria and Lebanon. It is the highest point in the region, and at its summit, archaeologists have found the remains of an ancient shrine, one of the oldest sacred sites in the Near East. The locals called it sacred long before anyone remembered why. The stones remember. The name remembers. The text remembers. You were just never told. 1 Enoch, chapter 8. The forbidden knowledge transfer begins. Each watcher teaches a different art. Azazel teaches metallurgy, the forging of swords, knives, shields, breastplates. Humanity did not discover metalwork through trial and error over millennia. According to this text, it was handed to them in a single generation. Barakiel teaches astrology. Kokabil teaches the reading of stars. Armaros teaches the resolving of enchantments. Semjaza teaches root cutting and herbalism. Sorcery through plants. This was not education. This was an arms race downloaded into a species that had no moral framework to contain it. Knowledge without death was power without consequence. And now, that power was being weaponized. Not just accumulated, weaponized. Azazel also teaches the art of beautifying the eyelids, the use of antimony and precious stones. You think cosmetics are trivial? The text links them directly to the corruption of the human form, the beginning of humanity reshaping itself in an image other than God's. The surface changes first. It always does. The Watchers take human wives. Genesis 6, verse 2, the sons of God saw the daughters of men that they were fair, and they took them wives, of all which they chose. The Hebrew for took, lakach, carries force. This is not courtship, this is seizure. And the union produces offspring that are neither fully human nor fully divine. Something new, something wrong, something the Earth was never designed to carry. Think about what just happened. In a single generation, not centuries, a single generation, humanity went from gardeners to weapons manufacturers, from stargazers to sorcerers, from naked simplicity to painted vanity. 1,600 years before Christ walks the earth, a technology transfer occurs that will take the rest of human history to replicate. And every bit of it comes with a price no one is reading the fine print on. The gifts are free. What they cost will take the rest of this video to explain. Genesis 4, verse 17. After killing Abel, Cain goes east of Eden, and he does something no human has ever done before. He builds a city, names it Enoch, after his son. The first city on earth was built by a murderer. The first poem was a murder confession. The first industry was weapons manufacturing. What does that tell you about the blueprint of civilization itself? The foundation of human society is drawn by a man with his brother's blood still under his fingernails. The city is not a hut. With 900-year lifespans and watcher-gifted knowledge flooding into the human population, this city grows for centuries. Generation after generation adding to the same walls, the same towers, the same forges, and now you see it at its peak. The same angle, the same golden towers, the same massive walls. But here, no water, no destruction, just glory. Bridges spanning rivers, smoke rising from 100 forges, market streets packed with traders. Humanity is reshaping the earth in its own image, and it is breathtaking. Genesis 4, verses 20 through 22. Cain's descendants are not savages. Jabal. He invents animal husbandry and tent dwelling, mobile civilization. Jubal. He invents the harp and the pipe. Music, art, culture, Tubal-Cain. He forges instruments of bronze and iron, industry, weapons, tools. 3 brothers. One invents agriculture, one invents art, one invents war. That is not a primitive family. That is the foundation of empire in a single generation. And then there is Naamah, Tubal-Cain's sister. Genesis names her but says nothing about her. In a text that rarely names women, her inclusion is a signal. The rabbis preserve her name for a reason. The Zohar. That is, Zohar 1:55a identifies Naamah as a teacher of sorcery, enchantment, and seduction. The Talmud records that Naamah was so beautiful that the watchers themselves were drawn to her. That she was the bridge between human ambition and angelic corruption. Her beauty was not passive, it was a weapon, and it found its mark. Genesis 4, verses 23 and 24. Lamech, Cain's descendant, not Noah's father, stands before his 2 wives, and he delivers the first poem in the Bible. Adar and Zillah, hear my voice. Wives of Lamech, listen to my speech. I have killed a man for wounding me, a young man for striking me. If Cain is avenged 7-fold, then Lamech 77-fold. Do you hear what is happening? Cain killed out of jealousy and was terrified of the consequence. 7 generations later, his descendant kills and brags about it. He sets murder to poetry. He makes violence beautiful. This is not moral decline. This is moral inversion. Now, imagine the city of Enoch at night. Torchlit streets stretching in every direction, bronze weapons displayed on racks like luxury goods, polished, beautiful, gleaming in the firelight, astrologers reading star charts for paying customers at stone tables, women painting their faces with antimony in mirror-polished bronze. A musician plays Jubal's instruments while a crowd roars around a gladiatorial pit. Entertainment built on bloodshed. A vendor sells potions made from watcher-taught herbalism. Children play with miniature bronze swords, swinging at each other and laughing. Every gift the Watchers gave is here, monetized, commercialized, normalized. The forbidden has become the marketplace, and nobody remembers it was ever forbidden. Children run through the market holding miniature bronze blades, toys forged in the same fires that make the weapons of war. A girl no older than 7 swings at a boy. He falls. She laughs. No one looks twice. The ring of hammer on bronze is the heartbeat of this city. The roar of the crowd watching blood sport is its breathing. The smell of antimony, paste, and forge smoke is its perfume. This is civilization, and it is rotting from the inside out. Now pause. Look at your own world. You carry a device in your pocket that contains the sum of all human knowledge. And what do you use it for? You live in cities built on systems you did not create and do not understand. You consume technology whose consequences you cannot calculate. The city of Enoch is not ancient history. You live in it. Genesis 6, verse 4. The Nephilim were on the earth in those days. The Hebrew word Nephilim comes from nephil, to fall. They are the fallen ones, not fallen morally, fallen from a category, neither angel nor human, something between, something that should not exist. First, Enoch describes them as giants, consuming everything humans produce, then turning on humans themselves when the food runs out. Look at them. Not fantasy monsters, not the cartoons you were shown in Sunday school, disturbingly human in face, wrong in proportion, eyes that carry an intelligence that should not exist in flesh. They stand twice the height of men, and the ground shakes when they walk. The earth groans under weight it was never designed to bear. First, Enoch, chapter 7, verses 3 through 5. The Nephilim consume all the produce of men. The fields are stripped, the granaries emptied. When that is not enough, they turn against humans. When that is not enough, they consume each other. This is not a monster story. This is an ecosystem collapse, a biological invasion that breaks the food chain itself. The violence fills the earth. Genesis 6, verse 11. Not localized, not regional, global, every settlement, every valley, every river that once ran clear now runs with something darker. What if the flood was not punishment for sin, but surgery on a species that had been genetically rewritten beyond the point of no return? The Dead Sea. Scrolls preserve fragments of a text called the Book of Giants. In it, the Nephilim dream. A giant named Ohiah wakes in terror and speaks to his brother Hiah. I had a dream. A great tablet was immersed in water, and when it was lifted, all but 3 lines had been washed away. The brothers are terrified. They send a messenger to Enoch, the prophet, not the city, to interpret the dream. Enoch's answer comes back with the calm of absolute finality. The tablet is the earth. The water is coming judgment. The 3 lines that survive are Noah and his family. Even the giants knew. They dreamed their own extinction and could not stop it. Genesis 6, verse 12. All flesh had corrupted its way upon the earth. The Hebrew is kol basar, all flesh, not just human flesh, animal flesh. The Watchers' interference had contaminated the biological order itself. This is the detail that changes everything. God is not punishing bad behavior. God is performing emergency surgery on a genome that has been hacked. The corruption is not moral. It is biological, written into the cells, into the offspring, into the animals. It cannot be repented of because it is not a choice anymore. It is a condition. Knowledge without death was power without consequence. Power without consequence was weaponized. And now, weaponized power has rewritten the source code of life itself. The knowledge the Watchers gave did not just change what humanity does, It changed what humanity is. And what has been rewritten cannot be unwritten by repentance alone. You cannot pray away a corrupted genome. You cannot fast your way out of a biological invasion. The flesh itself has crossed a line, and God sees it. Genesis 6, verse 5. 5 words in Hebrew. Rak rakol hayom. Only, evil, all, the day. The text does not say most thoughts. It does not say many thoughts. It says every thought of the human heart was only evil continually. There is no qualifier, no exception, no remnant of goodness left to appeal to. How evil does a world have to be for God to say there is nothing left to save? How corrupted does flesh have to become for the Creator to grieve that He made it? What does it take to make an eternal God wish He could undo His own work? You are watching this on a screen powered by technology you did not build, in a body you did not design, consuming knowledge you did not earn. The pre-flood world had all of this, and more, and it was not enough to save them, because the question was never how much power you have. The question is what that power is doing to what you are. Genesis 6, verse 8. 9 words that change everything. But Noah found grace in the eyes of the Lord. In a world where all flesh had corrupted its way, every bloodline rewritten, every family tree grafted with something that was never supposed to be in it. One man is different. The text calls him Tamim. Your English Bible translates that as perfect. But that is not what the Hebrew means. Tamim is the same word used in Leviticus for a sacrificial animal. Without blemish, without defect, complete as designed. This is not a moral description. This is a genetic description. Noah was Tamim, uncontaminated. His bloodline had not been corrupted by the Watcher interference. In a world where all flesh had corrupted its way, one family's line remained as God designed it. That is why he was chosen, not because he was the most righteous man alive, but because he was the last fully human one. And then God speaks. Genesis 6:13. The end of all flesh is come before me, for the earth is filled with violence through them. And behold, I will destroy them with the earth. Make yourself an ark of gopher wood. No preamble, no negotiation offered, just a verdict. And a commission. Noah's response is not recorded. No argument, no questions, no Abrahamic bargaining. No, what if there are 50 righteous? What about 40? Nothing. The silence of Noah's response is deafening. He simply begins. Genesis 6, verse 3. My spirit shall not always strive with man. His days shall be 120 years. This is not a new lifespan limit. This is a countdown. 120 years until judgment falls. And Noah fills every one of them. Think about that number. 120 years. That is longer than any human alive today has lived. God gave them more time than you will ever have. You have seen the cute Sunday school ark with the giraffe heads poking out the window. Forget it. Genesis 6:15 gives the dimensions: 300 cubits long, 50 cubits wide, 30 cubits high. That is 450 feet, longer than a football field, 3 decks. This is not a boat. This is an engineering project that takes a family over a century to complete. This is obsession born of obedience. Noah, as a young man, cuts the first timber. His back is straight. His sons are children. Noah at middle age. Gray at the temples now, his sons beside him, hauling planks, driving pegs. Noah old, white-bearded, hands cracked and calloused from decades of the same rhythmic motion. The axe falls, the wood splits, year after year after year. The sound of that axe becomes the heartbeat of his life. 2 Peter chapter 2, verse 5 calls Noah a preacher of righteousness. He preached for over a century, and not one person outside his family responded. Not one. Imagine standing in a market square, warning people of a flood. And no one in that world has ever seen rain. The sky has been the same diffused golden canopy since creation. Water falls from the sky? The concept does not exist. The Talmud in Sanhedrin 108b preserves what the people said to him. They said, "Old man, what is this ark?" Noah answered, "The Holy One is bringing a flood upon you." They said, "A flood of what?" "If a flood of fire. We have a substance called aletha that is fireproof. If a flood of water. We have iron plates to cover the earth. We are not afraid." They had an answer for everything, technology for every threat, a solution for every problem, except the one that was actually coming. Noah does not shout back. He does not argue. He has been doing this for decades. His voice is low, steady. The voice of a man who has said the same words so many times, they have worn grooves in his throat. The water is coming, the door will close, and when it does, it will not open again from the outside. The crowd disperses. The market noise fills back in. Bronze on bronze, laughter, music from a distant pipe, and Noah stands alone on the platform. The silence after he finishes preaching and no one responds, that silence is louder than anything in this story. Genesis 6, verse 6. "And it repented the Lord that he had made man on the earth, and it grieved him at his heart." The Hebrew is yinakum. He was sorry. And vayitatzev. He was grieved, pained in his very essence. This is not an angry God reaching for a weapon. This is a father standing over a child so sick, the only mercy left is to end the suffering. The grief of God is the most terrifying verse in the Old Testament, because it means the situation is beyond even divine patience. Not because patience ran out, because there was nothing left for patience to work with. Let that sit with you. God grieved. The creator of the universe looked at what his creation had become, and he hurt. God gave them 120 years of warning. That is longer than your entire life. What would it take for you to listen? And how long has your warning been running? Noah's family enters the ark. 8 people, Genesis 7:16, and the Lord shut him in. God himself closes the door. Noah does not close it. The last sound the pre-flood world hears from Noah is not a sermon. It is not a warning. It is the heavy groan of timber against timber. The ark door swinging shut, and then the thud, the seal. The hand that closes it is not human. The door that once stood open to a city built on murder is now closed around the last uncorrupted family on earth. And outside, the countdown reaches 0. 7 days, the ark is sealed, Noah's family is inside and outside. Nothing happens. For 7 days, the world looks exactly the same. The sun rises, markets open, people eat and drink and marry. Jesus himself says this in Matthew 24:38. The most terrifying week in human history looks completely normal. Day 1, day 2, day 5. The old man's ark sits on the hill like a monument to madness. Someone paints something crude on its hull. Children throw stones at it. By day 7, the joke is over. No one even looks at it anymore. Genesis 7:11. In the 600th year of Noah's life, in the 2nd month, on the 17th day of the month, the same day were all the fountains of the great deep broken up, and the windows of heaven were opened. The text is precise about this. Not rain, 2 water systems. One below the Earth's crust, one above the atmosphere. Ruptures simultaneously. This is not a rainstorm. This is the planet's plumbing exploding from both directions. She is in the market when the ground shakes. She drops what she is carrying, a clay vessel that shatters on the cobblestones. She looks down. Water is pushing up between the stones, not from a well, not from a pipe, from below, from the earth itself. She looks up. The sky is wrong. The diffused golden light that has existed since creation is breaking apart. For the first time in human history, there are clouds, and they are black. She has never seen rain. No human alive has ever seen rain. She does not have a word for what is falling from the sky. She runs. The streets are flooding from below. Water pushing up through the cobblestones, ankle deep in seconds. Behind her, the ground splits open. A geyser of superheated water erupts where the market stood. The sound is unlike anything. A deep subsonic roar from beneath the Earth's crust, the bones of the planet breaking. How do you run from something you do not have a word for? She has never seen a flood. She has never seen a storm. The technology that was supposed to protect them, the iron plates, the fireproof Aletha, none of it was built for this because no one believed this was possible. The golden towers are crumbling. The market streets are rivers. The forges are drowning. Bronze anvils disappearing under black water. Everything Cain built, everything Tubal-Cain forged, everything Jubal composed, it is all going under, not in centuries, not in decades, in hours. Genesis 7:19. The waters prevail. They cover the highest mountains by 15 cubits, 22 feet above the peaks. Every mountain, every tower, every tree that grew for 900 years, underwater, the entire topology of the pre-flood world, erased. The civilization, the cities, the technology, the music, the weapons, the knowledge, all of it sinking into mud that will become the fossil record. Genesis 7:13. Noah, Shem, Ham, Japheth, and their wives, 8 people, out of a civilization that had 1,000 years to build, that had technology gifted by angels, that had lifespans approaching a millennium. 8 people walk out the other side. That is not mercy for the world. That is mercy for a species on the edge of extinction. The Hebrew letter for 8 is Chet, the number of new beginning. The surface of the water. No sound, no birds, no wind in trees, no hammers on bronze, no music, no screaming, just water. Horizon to horizon. The most advanced civilization in human history makes no sound. It is under 4 miles of water, and above it, floating in a wooden box, is everything God chose to keep. That silence. Hold it, because what comes next is for you. The flood ends, the water recedes. 8 people step onto mud that used to be a world, and the first thing Noah does, Genesis 9:20, is plant a vineyard, and the second thing he does is get drunk. Ham sees his father's nakedness. The curse of Canaan follows. The ark saved 8 bodies. It did not save 8 souls from the memory of what they saw. The corruption of the old world walked onto dry land inside the survivors. And the Nephilim, Genesis 6:4, does not just say they were on the earth in those days. It says, and also after that. Numbers 13:33. The spies enter Canaan and come back shaking. We saw the Nephilim there. The flood killed the world. It did not kill the pattern. After the flood, lifespans plummet. Noah lives 950 years. His son Shem, 600. Shem's grandson Eber, 464. Abraham, 175. Moses, 120. David, 70. The canopy is gone. The atmosphere thins. The genetic clock accelerates. Within 10 generations, humanity loses 800 years of life. The pre-flood world is not just drowned. It is biologically impossible to rebuild. Now I need to talk to you directly, not about Noah, not about Nephilim, about you. Close your eyes for a moment and picture your world. You carry more computing power in your pocket than existed on the entire planet 50 years ago. You can edit genes. You can clone animals. You can build artificial intelligence that writes poetry and passes medical exams. You have gained power over nature. Have you gained power over yourself? More knowledge has not made us more wise. More technology has not made us more kind. More connectivity has not made us more connected. More medicine has not made us more whole. More power has not made us more free. It made us Enoch, the city, not the prophet. The place where murder became music and industry became empire, and no one noticed the countdown running underneath it all. The pre-flood world was not destroyed because it was primitive. It was destroyed because it was advanced, because it gained power over nature before it gained power over itself. Because knowledge without wisdom is not progress. It is a countdown, and the countdown does not stop just because you cannot hear it. But God did not destroy the world because he hated it. Genesis 6:6. He grieved. The same God who drowned a planet is the God who shut the door of the ark with his own hand. He did not erase humanity, he preserved it. Through wood and water and one family that had not been rewritten. And 2,000 years later he would do it again. Not with an ark, but with a cross. Not saving 8, but offering rescue to every human being who will step through the door before it closes. Next week, we go to the other side of the flood, to the Tower of Babel, where humanity tries to rebuild everything God just destroyed. And the language God uses to stop them will make your blood run cold. Subscribe so you do not miss it. Tell me in the comments, what hit you hardest? Was it Lamech turning murder into poetry? Was it the Nephilim dreaming their own destruction? Was it the 120 years of warning that no one took? I want to know. The door is still open, but the hand on the handle is not yours, and you do not know the day it closes.